Hi, I'm Rick Jarow, and I teach at Vassar College. Been there for a long time. And the other day I was walking to the Office of Human Resources. I had to do some clerical work. And the College Health Services is in the same building as Human Resources. And I just happened to pass, this was around Christmas time, so I happened to pass the health services and I saw this brochure which said healthier holiday cookies. And this brochure is put out by one of the major health insurance companies that insures students and faculty in the college. I will not mention their name, and you'll see why. So here is the insurance company and health services suggestion on how to have healthy holiday cookies. All-purpose flour. Use all-purpose flour. Do you know what all-purpose flour is? It's plain, refined white flour, which we all know is not good for you. Now they say mix it with whole wheat flour, so half and half. Okay, so just half your poison. Then this is an interesting one. Instead of whole eggs, replace half of the eggs with egg whites. Now, the whole cholesterol-lowering, anti-fat ideology, should we call it propaganda, was debunked years ago. Everybody knows that actually fats are good for you. And in fact, the egg yolk is what Tibetan monks eat. The late, great Bernard Jensen used to say that the egg yolk is the actual nourishing protein, and the egg white is what makes their chicken. But the mania against the fear of fat and the myth of cholesterol, which is, many people are saying are bogus. Okay, maybe it's not that bad. Then they say, again, part of the anti-fat mania, replace whole milk or cream with skim or evaporated skim milk. Skim milk is milk that is so refined and so processed that they have to add the vitamins that are taken out of it when they produce it. But once again, 100 years ago, there was, I think, 1% obesity. We didn't have the high levels of heart disease. Then I think it was Procter & Gamble, whoever put out Crisco Oil. This started, the whole mania, and there's a big difference between which fats are actually good for you and which are processed and which are not, which leads to the next one. They say instead of butter or margarine, you should use non-hydrogenated oil like olive oil, okay, or canola oil. Do you know what canola oil is? Do you know how it was created and how it goes so rancid so easily that it has chemicals in it to deodorize it, that it is made from genetically produced, it's actually rape flowers, they changed the name. It's just about every cutting edge health person that I have ever spoken to or heard of warns against canola oil, but here we are. No butter. And then this was the kicker to me. Instead of sugar, you should use a sugar substitute for baking, such as Splenda. Do you know that recently in a study by Italian scientists with the name is sucralose that is marketed as Splenda, found that it created higher instances of leukemia in mice? Just one thing. And I think intuitively most of us understand that the artificial sweeteners are deadly. I think it was Donald Rumsfeld actually who was instrumental in the production and marketing of aspartame, which people like Dr. Mercola feel is a neurotoxin. But here's my point. If the insurance company, the health insurance company that is supposedly advocating for health, is telling you to use artificial sweetener, oils with all kinds of additives, refined products, who the hell are we going to believe? Who can you believe? And it gets back to my discussion of health and illness as narratives. And the bottom line question to me is, where do we get information? And this is not just true for the kind of pharmaceutical industrial food industry. The same thing goes for the health industry. I had a friend who used to, religiously for 20 years, I haven't eaten a grain of sugar. So I put agave in everything I eat. And agave, is marketed as politically correct food. Do you know, again, according to Dr. Mercola, since I'm not a doctor, I'll cite one, agave syrup is fundamentally non-different than high fructose corn syrup. It's basically the same chemical composition. So in the end, who are you going to believe? And I would submit to you that instead of farming out our better judgment and our power to so-called scientists or the food industry, that we become scientists. In fact, in the actual practice of science, which is a fundamental culture of doubt and trial and error, the challenge is that we become our own scientists, and we see what our body likes and what our body doesn't like, and we experiment and really take the responsibility to see what works for you, instead of buying a bill of goods from either the food production industry or the health food industry. You remember the old food pyramids, which were paid for by the meat and dairy industries. I mean, we all know the deal is rotten. The challenge to me is, are we willing to take on the responsibility of becoming the scientists of our own life, and through trial and error, see what works and see what doesn't? That to me has integrity, and I've seen it work whether it's in careers or what's good for your own body or who's good to hang out with. Let us have the integrity and the strength to really see what works for us instead of believing what someone else says.